All right, obviously the NBA draft is coming up. I wanted to get a little creative. I didn't want to do like a standard mock draft sort of thing where I'm like, this guy's going to go number one and this guy's going to go number two. I wanted to put together a list of 4 players in this draft who I believe if you stick them on a contender right now, fresh out of college or fresh out of international player, whatever the case may be, if you stick them on a contender right now, they could make an immediate impact to winning. Very similar to like Jason Tatum in his rookie year, where the Boston Celtics were already a really good team, drafted him straight out of Duke, and he was a high impact starter on a squad that got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I wanted to put together a list of 4 guys in this particular class who I think could end up doing something similar if they were in that sort of situation. First guy I wanted to pick here is Kaman Malawak out of Duke. I was a massive fan of him during his first year with the Blue Devils. He really keeps the game simple, right? Not a big man who can stretch the floor and shoot at a high level, but knows how to play well in the pick and roll. He is an amazing finisher, an amazing lob threat, easily the best lob threat big man in this class. And also, I love what he did defensively. He is one of the best pick and roll defensive bigs, not one of the best pick and roll defensive big in this entire class. Flat out, his ability to cover ground, recover, all of those sorts of things, it was put on the pedestal in that NCAA tournament run for the Blue Devils. And I think, again, he keeps the game very simple, and he's the sort of big man that a lot of teams who are looking to contend would want to have, right? Like, there's this misconception that in the modern game as a big man, you have to be able to shoot. And if you can't shoot, you're not going to be able to impact winning. Not the case at all, right? Those big men who can play well in the pick and roll on both ends of the floor, those are the guys who are able to contribute at a high level to a contending roster. Look at Isaiah Hartenstein. He is not a spectacular perimeter shooter. And if he is, he did not show it off for the OKC Thunder or the New York Knicks last season. But again, just knows how to play well in the pick and roll, is very competent in that area. There are some things I think Malawak has to get better at, especially when it comes to maybe touch out of the short roll and being able to make plays out of the short roll. But again, I think just the way he plays and his mold and the archetype, those are the types of players that contenders would love to have. And I think that is a big reason why I think if you dropped him on a contender right now, he would be able to make an immediate impact to winning. The next guy here is Kon Knueppel. And I did a video on Kon Knueppel actually about a week or so ago. I'm just a fan of his game. Very mature player, patient, amazing secondary playmaker as a 2-guard, one of the best 3-point shooters, arguably the best 3-point shooter in this entire class. Really good when it comes to attacking closeouts, can finish off the 2 feet, which is good for drawing fouls. I think there's just a maturity to his game that would make him a threat on a contender if you dropped him on one right now. Keeps the game very simple, similar to Kaman Malawak. And also, I'm just a big fan of these guards that played very deep in the NCAA tournament. There's something about a player who performed at a high level deep in the NCAA tournament in high stakes situations. There's something about a guy like that I think makes him very impressive and attractive as a prospect. Like, let's look at the NBA playoffs over the last couple of years. Jalen Brunson was a guard who played very deep in the NCAA tournament, actually won 2 NCAA titles. Andrew Nembhard, was a player who played very deep in the NCAA tournament back in his college days, and I think he also made an NCAA championship appearance. Those guards who play very lengthy amount of times in the NCAA tournament usually carry over well in the NBA. And I think Knueppel can add to that trend. Now, he wasn't a multi-year player like Nembhard and like Jalen Brunson, but in his first year at Duke, played very well in a high-stakes, extremely competitive NCAA tournament. Was very efficient, 15 points per game throughout the tournament on 53% shooting from the floor and 55% shooting from 3. That's off the chain. So I think he's one of those guys, again, if you snatched him and put him on a contender right now, not asking him to be a star guy and asking him to be a primary shot creator, but if you put him in that sort of situation where he's able to play off the ball and do some of those sorts of things, I think he could contribute to winning extremely early on in his career. Next on my list is VJ Edgecombe. Now, I wasn't really super high on him coming into the season, and really not until the last couple of weeks is when I got to a point where I really liked him as a prospect and really thought he could make a massive impact early on in his career. And I think maybe it was because I didn't think his offensive game was super polished just yet. But I really like what he does defensively. An elite defensive playmaker, probably the best perimeter defensive player in this entire class. Really good also when it comes to catch and shoot from the three-point line. During conference play, he was extremely efficient from beyond the arc. I think he was nearly 40% from beyond the arc during conference play, playing in the Big 12 there. Really good 3-and-D guy. And just referencing what we saw in the NBA Finals this year, where we had guys like Lou Dort and Aaron Nesmith, these elite level 3-and-D players make massive impacts. There is a lane for a guy like BJ Edgecombe to come in and immediately contribute to winning. Now, he's not a spectacular shooter, especially off of movement, but if he can like polish that thing in his game, in particular, the three-point shooting and just sharpening that up, I think he's a dude, if you dropped him on a really good team, can contribute to winning very early. And he's projected right now in some mock drafts to go to Philly. I think there's a world where he is immediately contributing to winning for the Philadelphia 76ers. You're not asking him to be a primary shot creator. You're asking him to come in and essentially be an athletic 3-and-D player. And just like we saw throughout the NBA playoffs, there is a lane for athletic 3-and-D players to contribute at a very high level. Last guy on this list is an obvious one, and that is Cooper Flagg. I think Cooper Flagg is the number one prospect, not just based off his upside, but he does have a skill set that is translatable to winning. Now, is he going to be winning early in his career? Yes, because he's on a team with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. That is a Mavericks team that is looking to get deep in the NBA playoffs. If they can be healthy, I do think that's a possibility. I think Flagg has a skill set that is very translatable to what the Mavericks are trying to do this upcoming season. I don't think they're going to be looking for him to be a primary shot creator the entire season. There may be a point in time where that happens because Kyrie's going to be out because of his injury, and I don't think he'll be back till like early 2026. So there's going to be a world where Flagg is going to be asked to do a lot of primary shot creating on the perimeter. But even if he does fall off a bit once Kyrie comes back, and that's not his role as much, there are other things he does very well that could make a massive impact for this Mavericks team, not just on the offensive end, but on the defensive end. Really good off-ball scorer, knows how to cut, right? Knows how to drive and attack closeouts, can be a lob threat, knows how to do those sorts of things, has a really good instinct for scoring even when he's not the primary shot creator. Also an amazing playmaker. That was the most impressive thing about Flagg through the tournament, was the playmaking. I just love seeing him be creative with finding guys, whether he was finding guys on the perimeter or finding guys near the rim. If you want to put him in a situation where he's acting as a pick and roll player and you want him to kind of make a play out of the short roll, that is 100% something that he can do at a very high level. And again, the defense, right? The defensive playmaking, the ability to switch, those sorts of things, right? If he's not an elite scorer on a Contender, and I don't think that's going to be the case, I think he's going to max out maybe around like 16, 17 points a game in year one, which is still really good for a rookie. And that was around where Stephon Castle was as far as points per game in a Rookie of the Year season he just had. But I think that's where Flagg's going to land at. Again, not elite level scoring numbers, but if he can do other things at a high level, like playmaking and like being a really good defensive impact guy early on, I think the sky is the limit, and I definitely think he can impact a Mavericks team that is looking to make a really deep playoff run. And he's also still my pick for Rookie of the Year early on. There's a reason why he's looked at as the number one prospect in this class. So those are four players who I think if you drop them on a Contender right now could impact winning. Let me know what you guys think. Are there any guys that maybe are projected to go later in the draft? Are there any guys that could be in that conversation as well? But I'm excited for this draft. I think it is a really good class. It is deep when you're talking about talent in the lottery especially, and we'll see what ends up happening as these guys get ready to start their NBA careers.